Hello, Angel here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, hello. And if you're a returning subscriber, hello. It's lovely to see you again. Lovely to have you back here on this channel. Strap yourself in. It's going to be a bumpy ride as usual. So we're going to start by lighting this beauty. It's a myrrh incense stick. Let's light this on fire. Okay, so I woke up this morning and I, sat down with my cup of coffee on the sofa, as I do generally when I'm free from work, and I got onto YouTube and I saw that Robyn from Robyn Reflections had put out a new video, and they were answering a tag. They were doing a VR to Cosmic Lunar Soul and a life full of simplicity, and the hashtag was St. Patty's Tarot. It's a St. Patrick's Day tarot tag, and I was like, yeah, I'm totally in on that. So we've got a bit of green going on here. I've even got a bit of green going on here. Yeah, let's jump in with the prompts. I think there's like 8-10 prompts, something like that. But let's get going. Let's get this show on the road. Okay, so St. Patrick's Day is actually the 17th of March, and I'm going to link Britney and Priscilla's live stream that's coming out on the 17th in the description box. So keep your eyes open for that. Go and take a look in the description box down here. Yeah, so we're jumping in with the first prompt, and the first prompt is End of the Rainbow. Which deck or what deck did you have a hard time finding or tracking down? Now, I'm not going to say an indie deck because, I've kind of found it quite easy to find indie decks I wanted. I've been on my wish list. However, this beauty was difficult to track down. This is the Woodland Wardens Oracle by Jessica Rao, maybe is the way you say it. Apologies if it's not. And this one I wanted. Well, wait, let me back up. I didn't want it, first of all, and I saw it a lot on Krista's Chronicles channel. They showed this deck a lot and they really liked it, and I was like, no, I don't think it's anything for me. And then I don't know, I just was like, no, I did like a total U-turn. I was like, no, I need that deck, and when I wanted the deck it was out of print, and I was like, no, I've got to have this deck. So I searched for it and high and low, and couldn't get my sticky mitts on it until one day it kind of came back into printing again, or into circulation, and then I was able to hit the buy button and bring it home to me. So yeah, I think I'm going to say this one was kind of hard to track down. I love this deck. I work with this one. I've worked with it quite a lot with my other like earthly decks, like for instance the Tarot of Strange Sprouts. I use that one with this one quite a lot, and even a Compendium of Witches. I use those three as a combination. They work really nicely together. Love the guidebook. I just really like the art style. It's very grounded, but in some ways it gives me a kind of whimsical vibe. But I think that's because it reminds me of like childhood books that I read, like storybooks and stuff. It's got that kind of illustration style. Yeah, anywho, that's irrelevant. I'm going to also say another deck that I'm having a real trouble tracking down, which is the Citadel deck. I had that on pre-order the first time it came out. It's a mass market deck, or it is now, and it was on pre-order, and I was like, I don't know, do I need that? No, and I cancelled the pre-order. And I wish I hadn't, because now I can't get my hands on it, and obviously it's going to come back out again, but obviously the prices have increased and that kind of thing, and I'm supposed to be on a low buy year, so we'll see when I get my sticky mitts on that one. But I would like to bring that into my collection as well. But that's been a bit of a hoo-ha to get my hands on. So yeah, that was the Woodland Wardens deck, and I love it. I really enjoy it. And usually I'm not a borders kind of person, but on this deck it just really works. It's so beautiful. So oh look, the wolf. We're going to stop on that one. Okay, we're moving along. We're going on to the next prompt. Pot of Gold. When you found that deck, was it worth the quest? Oh my goodness me. Totally. It was worth the quest to find it. Next prompt. Shamrock Shake. What's your favourite snack when doing readings? I don't tend to eat when I'm doing readings. And if I do, it's like in the centre of a long spread, and then I kind of take a break and I go and get some cereal. I know it sounds bizarre. No matter what time of the day, I go and get some cereal with some oat milk and sit and just look at the reading, just trying to take it in and, you know, allow the cards to speak to me. And I sit here, you know, munching on my cereal whilst I do that. So maybe that's become a little bit of a ritual when I get a bit tripped up on the card meanings. Oh, there could be a bit of a pattern there. Anyway, so yeah, but apart from that, I don't tend to read while eat and read together. Next prompt, the Leprechaun. Do you own a rare or out of print deck? And if not, which one would you like to get if you could? Now, I do own a couple of out of print decks, and I didn't hunt them down in that way. I wasn't like, oh, I really want this deck, so I'm going to hunt it down, track it down. They just kind of came into my life accidentally. This is the first one. This is the Hoods Tarot, I think it's called, or maybe Huds Tarot. I don't know. By Susan Huds. So sorry if I've said that incorrectly. This was a US Games deck from the start, so it was a mass market deck, obviously. And then I remember seeing this on Dawn Michelle's channel, and I really liked it. And Dawn Michelle mentioned that it was out of print, and I was like, oh well, never mind. I'll never get my hands on that. And then I was on like a charity shop. Online shop, does that make sense? Like a charity shop, but online, one day, and this just came up, and I was like, isn't that deck that's out of print? And I really liked it because it reminds it. I've said this before in another video. I do a lot of like junk journaling and things like that, and you know, some collage work and stuff like that. And this kind of gave me a collage kind of vibe, because we've got this like here, for instance, it's like yeah, it just gave me that kind of vibe. And I was like, you know, I would have liked to have got my hands on it. Anyway, so when I saw it on this site, God, we're going off on a right tangent. I was like, oh, I want to get my hands on that. And I think it was like £20 or something like that. I don't think it was even that. I think it was cheaper than that. It was £15 and 20 with shipping, whatever. But I was like, I don't know if this is going to be a real deck or it's going to be like a fake, a bootleg. But I thought I'm going to take a chance on it anyway, which I did. And it is real. I didn't get a book with it, which is fine. But yeah, I like it. I don't tend to be into like what am I going to say, like oldie worldy kind of artwork. But I actually really like this one, and it's very Rider-Waite-Smith. Obviously, it's a Rider-Waite-Smith clone. So yeah, and I looked up about the making of this deck, and the Susan Hoods, or Huds, whichever however you say the name, had used old maps and like old papers from old books whilst creating this deck, which is what kind of spoke to me at the beginning. So yes, I do like this one, and it's in really good condition. I haven't edged mine, and I don't know if I will. Oh, these are the backs, by the way. Forgot to say that. Whoopsie, do apologise. So that's one of the ones I stumbled upon on as a second-hand deck, and this is another one, Tarot of Northern Shadows. Didn't know it was an out-of-print deck. I was just like, oh, this looks interesting. And I love this because this reminds me of like an old video case. Do you remember like when you went to Blockbuster in like the late 90s, 2000s? It reminds me of that, which I think is quite cool. Gives me like a nostalgic vibe. These are the backs. And when I got these in, these are a little bit worse for wear. I'm going to show you from like this. You can see here, some of the cards are a bit squiffy, which is fine. The person that had it before, or whenever they'd had it, they had stuck like stickers over the names in their own language so they could understand, you know, the titles, and which I didn't realise. And so because they'd stuck that on every single card, the deck was like this. So it was really fat at the bottom and like, you know, normal size at the top. So anyway, I took off all the labels, and it has taken off, like for the Magician, if you can see that, it's taken off of the text a little bit, but it's all good. You know, I'm not planning on selling it. I'm planning on using it and having it in my own collection. So I really like it. It's got like it's got quite a bit of a fantasy, whimsical feel again. And I'm thinking of using this for, look at this, I love this, for Dawn Michelle's Fellowship of the Weaver practice sometime throughout this year. Not this month, obviously. I love this as well. This is really interesting. I had a really strange dream, actually, which that's totally irrelevant, but I'm going to tell you anyway, because I haven't shared it with anybody. And it was really upsetting. Friday to Saturday, I had this dream. I woke up crying, actually. And I dreamt that I was at a supermarket here in town. Bear with me, very strange. And people could like bring their own meat to the supermarket and cook it in the ovens. And somebody had put a live rabbit in this oven. And I remember walking past and like seeing this rabbit, and I was like, what? Why has somebody put a live rabbit into this oven? And I like called on the staff. Oh wait, and my sister was with me as well. My sister doesn't live in the same country I do, so that was very bizarre. So I called on the staff and I was like, you know, there's a live rabbit in that oven. And the staff were like, oh, I'll go and get the manager, and I'll go and get the person that had put that rabbit in the oven. And they went and got the manager, and the manager had a dead snake that the head had been cut off of, who came like beside me with this snake hanging by their side. And I started to cry, obviously, because I was like, you know, who's done this? Who's put this rabbit in this oven, and why have you allowed them to put this rabbit in the oven? That's a living creature, you know. And they were like, oh, you know, well, don't worry about it. And then I started to freak out because he's got a snake, a snake that's been beheaded that he's just holding on to. And then he starts swinging this snake around, and like, sorry to be a bit graphic, but all of its like insides started to like fly onto me, and it was horrible. And nobody would listen to me about this poor rabbit, and I was trying to get to the oven to turn off the oven and get the rabbit out, and they wouldn't the staff wouldn't let me do that. And I kid you not, I actually woke up with tears streaming down my face. And you know when you've been crying so long and so much, you're like I was like that, and I woke up and I was so upset. And it was awful. It was an awful dream. So I don't know what that means. It clearly means that I shouldn't go to that supermarket anymore, because, you know, they're clearly doing dodgy stuff there. Oh, it was horrible. I joke about it now, but it was awful. Awful. Anyway, that was a sideline. Apologies. But thank you for letting me, you know, ventilate my awful dream. If you've got any ideas what that dream meant, please put it in the description box, because I would love to know. Yes, so there we have it. 2 decks that are out of print that I managed to get my sticky little mitts on. But I'm really looking forward to working with this one, actually, I have to say. In Dawn Michelle's practice. Fellowship of the Weavers. Okay, next prompt. 4-leaf clover. A deck you thought would be just another deck, but turned out to be something great. Oh yeah, I've definitely got one for this one. So that has got to be this deck. This is the Figuratively Speaking Tarot by B. Miller. This is an indie deck. And this is a deck I'd never heard of before I saw it on eBay. It was a pre-owned deck. But it was like, I doubt the owner or the first owner had used it particularly very much, because it was in mint condition. Unfortunately, when I got it home, I ripped the box because I was so excited to open it. And it's a much loved deck, so the box is taking a bit of a battering. Yeah, and usually when I get secondhand decks or any deck through the door, I generally don't, you know, there's some decks I feel, you know, no, I can work that a bit later. I'm in no rush. But when this came through the door, I was like, I need to work with this deck now. Anyway, so this deck comes with a little like pamphlet. So, you know, that kind of allowed me to kind of just read it intuitively, really, obviously using the Rider-Waite-Smith meanings as well. But because there was no guidebook to go to, it kind of just, you know, it really just gave me permission to read them in my own way. Sorry, warning for nudity, apologies. I've had an amazing journey with this deck, and I had an amazing epiphany with this card specifically, and I created some artwork around this card, yeah, which I've spoken about previously in other videos. So I will link those videos in the description and even put some timestamps in. So if you want to go back and look at those, you're very, very welcome to do that. So yeah, when this deck comes through the door, I was like, I need to work with that right now. And I did something that I don't usually do. Usually I do a deck interview with decks that come into my collection. And with this deck, I used an activity from the 78, oh, what's that book called? I'll put the name on the screen, that book. And I played the Who Done It game with this card, or with this deck, sorry. And it was an amazing experience. It was a fantastic way to bond with the deck. Now, I can't say if I would have bonded with it differently had I done a deck interview, but that kind of like, I kind of like just flew by the seat of my pants with this deck, and I didn't stick to my usual structure. I didn't have a guidebook, so I was going to read it, intuitively, and then I played this game with the deck to kind of bond with it. So it was like really free and easy, and I loved it. It was like so much fun. Not that I'm very strict with my practice usually, but just by taking the element of interviewing the deck out and not having that structure, I don't know, it just made it, I don't know, I can't explain it. It was very bizarre. But I bonded with this deck in such a different way than I haven't bonded with other decks previously. It's what I'm trying to get to, and I love this card. So anyway, so this is the deck that that I totally thought of first when I read the prompt. And I'm going to also say that I believe it was back in January or the end of December. I think it was January. The deck creator contacted me on Instagram. And they thanked me so much for, singing the praises of their deck. Obviously, I'm not sponsored at all by the creator or anything. I didn't even know who the creator was. I just found this on eBay and was just like, had this amazing experience with it. Anyway, and in their message, they wanted to send me some other cards that they had created as a thank you. And I was like, what? So yes, we had we kind of had a bit of a back and forth, and we had a nice chat together, and they sent me some other cards and decks to as a thank you to look at and to work through, and to work with. So those cards, or that package, is on a bit of a journey of itself, and they're currently in Iceland, and it was obviously back in January they sent the package, so it's going to have a few tales to tell when it finally arrives at my door. But it was so nice. It was like, I was just so blown away by the kindness of the creator to contact me and to thank me for, liking their deck and, even showing their deck. But to, be willing to send me some cards and stuff. I was like, oh, wow, this is fantastic. So when I get those cards through, I'm going to give you a glimpse of those cards because I'm really, really excited. I can't wait to get my hands on those. So yeah, definitely recommend this deck. It's a Game Crafter deck. I've never, what's the word, ordered from Game Crafter. And I went onto their, to the creator's page on Game Crafter, and they've got a lot of like booster decks that they've created. And I'm really, I don't know what they've sent me in the package, but it's very, very exciting, and I'm going to go in after I've received the package and purchase some booster packs. I'm going to pop some pictures of the booster packs on here. Love them. And they've also done a Mermaid Arcana, Major Arcana deck, which I'm if you've seen any of my videos, you'll know that I'm like mad for mermaids. My inner child, like, and actually I'm lying, I love mermaids too, so I really want to get that. So yeah, that was a bit of a, I digressed there, but this was the deck anyway for that prompt. Let's move on. Okay, so the next prompt is Irish Whiskey, a deck that's always a party or celebration. Now I've got two decks to show for this this prompt. This is the Tripping Weight Tarot. This is the Stars edition, and I'm going to do my absolute best to try and get the stars to flash. I don't know if you can see these flashing. There's like stars over the whole card. Can you see that? You can see that a little bit. It's over the whole card. So they totally give me like a party vibe. I edged mine in like a metallic green colour to match the backs here. So this kind of gives me like a cosplay, fancy dress party vibe. And obviously with colours, it kind of gives me a party vibe as well. And I'm even going to show this deck, which is the mass market Queer Tarot, I want to say it's called. I'm sure it's called the Queer Tarot. I edged mine in black. And it's the same thing. It's this thing with the colours, and it's got a bit of a 70s, 90s vibe. Oh, let me just move this along because my ring light doesn't like those cards. Let's do this. Yeah, it gives me kind of 70s, 90s cosplay, fancy dress party vibe. Yeah, sorry, I'm really sorry. That's not a negative. That's not a negative thing at all. So yeah, these two totally give me that vibe, which is why it makes me think of a party. And you know, I do love colour in my decks. The colourful decks have kind of taken a bit of a backseat the last month or two, I would say. Yeah, last month. But you know, these just, I look at these cards and I'm like, yes, I feel I'm sitting there with a big grin like a Cheshire cat on my face because I'm an nincompoop and I love colour. And they just light me up. They just, it's like, it's totally feeding my soul and filling my cup. I feel my battery's recharging just by looking at these colours. They make me feel so good. And I've mentioned before, this deck, and specifically this card, was damaged when I got it. Now it is a mass market, and the cards were sealed in plastic when I got them, so that, you know, there wasn't somebody else that had the deck and sent it back. But I kind of felt that I was supposed to get the deck like this, and the Queen of Wands was supposed to be a bit, you know, damaged. So anyway, so I never sent it back. But you know, it doesn't bother me. It's a quirk of the deck. I like it. But I mean, you know, this totally gives me like a fancy dress cosplay 70s 90s vibe. I don't know, it makes sense. I know it sounds daft when it comes out of my mouth. I am aware of that. Let's take a few more. I don't use this deck as much as I should, and I don't know why, but when I get it out and I look at it, like I said, it makes me smile, and it's just like, wow, why am I not using this deck more? And the stars just make me so happy. Is that coming out better on camera? I don't know. But it's just gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Let's take 3 more, because you know, why not? Okay, one last one. One last one. I'm sorry. There we go. Oh, perfect. Perfect to land on this card. This feels like a party. Party. Okay, let's have a looky here. Rich Heritage is the next prompt. Which deck in your collection has so much depth to it? Whether the art, the guidebook, or the readings. Okay, I'm going to show a deck that I've shown very recently, and I show quite often, because since having it, I've kind of like, it's like blown my mind. You're not going to be surprised at this one. This is the Dogwood Tarot. Almost forgot the name of it. I dislike how I edge this, so I'm going to have to edge it in black at some point, but I'm too busy doing my readings to edge the deck. But it will be done at some point. Oh, this deck, I don't know, just blows my mind. Blows my mind. And, you know, I'd seen this deck. It's a Llewellyn deck. It's a mass market deck. I purchased this secondhand on eBay, so it's pre-owned. And I had it on my kind of radar for quite a while, but I don't tend to get along with Llewellyn decks, I've got to say. And I don't know why, but I had like the Mermaid Tarot, which I rehomed. I gifted to a friend. And I even have like the Tarot of Hidden Realms, which I don't use very much. What's the other deck that I rehomed? Oh, the Enchanted Forest is also a Llewellyn deck that I rehomed, or not rehomed, I gifted to a friend. And I just, I don't know what it is. So anyway, so this has been on my radar for a while. Then I saw it come up on eBay, and I was like, yeah, it was a really good price. And I was like, you know, yeah, why not? Why not? I have wanted to try this deck out. So I got it home. And the readings blew my mind from the get-go. And I don't tend to go to the guidebook for this one. I do read this really intuitively, and this totally taps me in to what I've affectionately named my jaded self, which my shadow self doesn't like that name, so I shouldn't be using it. I should be saying my shadow self. But that's what this does. And this is a real healing tool. It's my shadow work deck, but it's become a real healing tool in my practice and within my facets of self work that I'm doing. So yeah, it's just amazing. This would definitely be like in my top 3 decks. If there was, you know, goddess forbid, a fire, I would, you know, grab my cats and I would grab this deck and possibly 2 or 3 others. which is really interesting because obviously I've got, you know, some indie decks that are really expensive to get into my collection, you know, taxes and shipping and the cost of the deck, blah, 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 blah. And this was a pre-owned eBay find, you know, which probably didn't cost more than, I don't know, £12 or something. And this is the deck I would want to save. Isn't it interesting? It's like, it's quality over, not quality, that's the wrong thing, but quality for me within my readings with this deck and the bond that I've made with this deck. So yeah. And I do go, I have gone to the guidebook, you know, I tend to obviously, you know, get my own message, and then I do go and, you know, love this, go to the guidebook, and I really like it. And you know, I'm surprised when people online say that they're not a big fan of this deck, but of course, you know, it's everybody's individual experience, isn't it, with decks. What I have an amazing experience with might not be your experience with this deck, and vice versa. I know there's decks that I've seen spoken about on YouTube, and I've been like, oh, you know, I really like that, I really want to have that experience, that deck too, and I've got it in my collection. For instance, the Enchanted Forest Tarot, I think it's called. Excuse me, that cold won't let me leave me alone. The Enchanted Forest Tarot, I'm sure it's called that. And that I've seen that spoken about so much, and I brought it into my collection because people love that deck so much. And I just, every time I looked at it, I was like, no, don't feel anything for it at all. No, not feeling it. And I, you know, bought it out several times within the last 2 years or something. And I was like, nope, I've got no interest in working on that deck at all. Which is why at the end, or beginning of January, I decided to rehome it. So it's just really interesting, isn't it? And I think it's important to remember that when people speak about, you know, the experience that they've had with decks, they've personally had with decks, doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to have the same experience if we purchase the deck and bring it into our collection. So that's really interesting, and I've kind of learned it's important to remember that as well, so that I don't get caught up in the whirlwind of like, ooh, I want to get that deck too, ooh, you know. So, but that comes with a bit of experience, I think, of possibly buying decks that haven't resonated once they've come through the door. Totally babbling, and I should stop right this second. So there we go. So that was the last prompt. Yeah, thank you for hanging out with me. What say you? Do you fancy answering a prompt in the comment section? I'm going to ask you to answer that last question. Rich heritage. What deck in your collection has so much depth to it? So be it the art, the guidebook, or the readings. Let me know in the comment section. I would love to know. Yeah, otherwise, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Looky here again. Sorry, looky here. That was the last card I popped on the top there as well. That was totally accidental, I promise you. If you're wondering why I'm like freaking out, or not freaking out, but being a drama queen, it's because the Temperance card is my card of the year for 2024. Sorry, I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to wish you a lovely morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Take care, and I hope to see you in the next video. Toodaloo!